Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, it's time for Charitable Georgia. Brought to you by Bees Charitable Pursuits and Resources. We put the fun in fundraising. For more information, go to beescharitablepursuits.com. That's BEES charitablepursuits.com. Now, here's your host, Brian Pruitt.
Welcome to this very special edition of Charitable Georgia. I am not Brian Pruitt. Brian Pruitt is very busy shaking hands and kissing babies and getting this event off the ground. We are broadcasting live at the Locker Room Chat, brought to you in part by the Glenda Mitchell Law Firm. We're visiting with athletes, we're visiting with patrons, and anyone who is invested in this terrific cause, benefiting the All In or All Out ministry. Please join me in welcoming to the broadcast the first two gentlemen who are willing to give this a shot this evening, Ronnie Brown and Robert Levette. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, it's a delight to have you, and we do sincerely appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedule to make this thing work. Ronnie, you guys were both in that group of, I assume, are the athletes that were conned into coming to do this thing. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you're doing now, man.
Okay, so I'm Ronnie Brown. Grew up here in Cartersville, Georgia. Pretty much from birth to even to now, I get back a pretty good bit. But played sports, played football here at Cartersville High School. Went on to continue my career at Auburn University. And finishing that, I played 10 years professionally after being drafted at the second overall pick in the 2005 NFL draft. And now I've kind of transitioned and switched lanes a little bit, working in Atlanta, working in finance in Atlanta, living in Sandy Springs.
Fun. So we have a studio, Business RadioX does, in Sandy Springs, and we have one out where I live in Woodstock, Georgia. And it is fun to get people to come in the studio and hear their story. So obviously a marvelous career in football. Tell us more about what you're doing now. How are you trying to help folks now in the business you're in? Yeah.
So, after transitioning, coming out of college, following the great footsteps of so many people like Robert, myself. I met Robert, ahead of myself. In football, I learned football very well. The thing that they don't teach you a lot of is business. And so, in transitioning, I always joke, to a lot of the younger guys, I'm like, hey, when I left school pre-NIL, I only had $187 in a Regions account. And then I get drafted and a few months later, somebody gives me millions of dollars, and send me to Miami, Florida and say, oh, by the way, be responsible with this. I'm like, where do I start? And so, that was one of the hurdles, without having the financial means growing up. That was something that I had to learn. And it's something that so many guys, whether it's athletes or non-athletes in college, you go to try to further your career and try to be better, but you don't necessarily learn a lot about financial literacy, financial education. And that's something that we all have to deal with at some point in our careers. And so whether it's deciding which company to sign with or what benefits package or, for a lot of professional athletes, which financial advisors, what should I start doing and how do I approach this? And so, my team in Atlanta, we help people prepare for that, do a lot of individual and family wealth management, from a holistic perspective. For me, I got the opportunity to start as a client. And so I understand it, from that view. And so trying to help people meet people where they are to get them where they want to be financially and, just to create that financial cushion and, become financially comfortable.
That must be incredibly rewarding work, man. That has got to feel good to help these folks out like that.
Yeah, it's purposeful, and I tell people, small steps, long vision. And so it's just about, giving me purpose as well. It was a process for me to get educated on that part of it, but then also having the ability to be able to help other people is very rewarding. And, as you can imagine, I never expected to be in this position as a professional athlete, making this transition. I didn't go to school for finance. And so it was just the path that I think, that called me, and so for me, it's purposeful. I enjoy it. Every day is fun. I get a chance to meet a lot of really new people, a lot of cool people, a lot of new people, and form relationships, and to see them get that comfort of, learning, understanding the financial picture and, accomplishing their goals.
So have you had the benefit of one or more mentors to help you navigate this whole new terrain? Surely you had great coaches and mentors in your athletic career, but in the financial career, were there people that kind of helped you figure this new path out?
It was trial by error, and I just kind of,
threw him in the fire, didn't they, Robert?
And it's, I'm a firm believer in, I believe that success leaves clues. And so you surround yourself with the right people, then, they'll leave the clues and they'll set the path before you and kind of teach you how to do that. And so I've been fortunate, a recipient of being around a lot of great people that have poured into me, that have helped me along the way. And, when I do have questions, I've been able to go to those people and rely on them, along with, my personal experiences or being inside of locker rooms and in different encounters. So it's been, cumulative when it comes to applying and educating and, getting knowledge, wisdom, and understanding.
I'll bet. So what brings you out here tonight? What compelled you to join us, man?
Well, it was just the purpose, and the cause. Me personally, just a little bit of my background. I have, family members who've dealt with substance abuse. And so, I think when you hear Kevin's story, I think just understanding that I think we all have or, experienced, someone or family member, some close relative or friend that have gone through that challenge. And so to be able to come support that along with a lot of great other people that I'll be sharing the stage with, it's really impactful, but, it's all about serving that purpose and, I think understanding who we are and the impact that we have, but also, making people more comfortable with uncomfortable conversations, and just feeling like, it's not just you. This is something that so many people struggle and, go through. And it's, whether it's you or a family member, there are a lot of people that are affected. And so you got to create that network or get you a group of people that can walk through those things with you.
Man, he is incredibly articulate. You think he ought to run for office?
I think he should. Yes.
No, that is fantastic. All right. So Robert Levette, what brought you out here, man? Or you just wanted to see him?
I wanted to see him, but Brian Pruitt is always trying to, create situations where we can get out and help the public.
Yeah, and so you had an athletic career as well, yes? Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm a former Cartersville Hurricane who
laid the foundation for people like myself.
Yeah, I ended up deciding on Georgia Tech and had a good career in college and got drafted by my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. And so I had about 3 years at Dallas, and it was a lot of fun. Got a chance to see the world through sports.
So was it a whirlwind? I can only imagine. I mean, I made the high school baseball team because I had a car. But even at my level playing sports, I learned a ton. I learned how to win. I learned how to lose. I learned how to work with other people. I learned resilience. So even at that level and at that skill level, there were still a lot of lessons to be learned, but there wasn't so many of the other aspects. Did it just hit you like a ton of bricks when you started, playing with the big boys?
Well, you never forget the first day of practice when you realize that you are playing, for the Dallas Cowboys, and it's, all these famous guys that you watched on TV as a kid. You realize your dream. So that was amazing to me. I never forgot that first day of practice. And I mean, we ended up you get treated really, really well. I mean, they give you free cars, free places to go eat. It's just a lot of fun, and you have a lot of privileges.
Mm-hmm. Which is great, but there's probably another side to that, too, that you got to kind of keep yourself in check and try to stay grounded, or you didn't worry about that?
Well, no, I mean, if you make it that far, typically you're going to be well-behaved, and you have a lot of discipline, but that's what it requires, to stay away from, the negative.
Yeah. All right, so what would you like to see happen this evening? What are you hoping comes out of an event like this?
That we can inspire, the kids to want to be, athletes if that's what they want to be. It's a great discipline to participate in team sports.
You've mentioned that word a couple of times, discipline. I can only imagine the level of mental, physical discipline you must have to employ to make it anywhere near the heights that you guys made it. Do you find that also, though, has carried over into other aspects of your life and helped you navigate that as well?
It has. I mean, you got to be disciplined in any endeavor that you take, and football is really structured, and that really helps you later on in life.
So I had a chance to interview someone else who played professional football. It's been a while, but he was describing to me how you watch the film after the fact, and they capture everything, every mistake. Yeah, you capture the good stuff. That must be interesting. And then they can rewind and show it to you again and again. Is that true?
Yeah, that's not really the fun part of football, because they're telling you what you did wrong over and over and over. Yeah. So that's the part where you want to have a practice where your coach doesn't have to. You want to have a perfect practice to where you don't have to hear his mouth.
So Ronnie's going to dominate the world in the financial sector. What are your plans going forward? Are you going to fish and golf and play, or have you got some big entrepreneurial business stuff?
I think I'm going to fish, golf, and play and watch my grandsons grow up to be football players. Right now they are 13 and 8, and their father is putting them in really good positions to play for, the best schools. So I'm excited to watch them grow up.
Yeah. All right. Before we wrap, and I didn't prep these guys for that, and maybe I should have, but you got quite a few folks' attention. What would you say to the young people that just might give them a little inspiration, a little bit of wisdom? Maybe it's a hard-learned lesson. Maybe it's just one of those things to just sort of always keep in mind. And we'll start with you, Robert. What's a little nugget of wisdom that you might encourage them to keep in mind?
To always obey your parents, and to listen to your teachers, and just try to emulate positive in your life.
Fantastic. Ronnie?
Yeah, and I think for me it's along with what Robert just said, but also being fearless in chasing your dreams, and it's okay to not fit in. They write books about the people who stand out, and typically the people who fit in read the books about the people who stood out. And so dare to be different. It's okay to chase your dreams. And so just understanding that, and I think that's a big part of it, especially now in society with so many negative influences or social media and people and younger generation trying to be comfortable. I think it's really important for them to understand and accept their individuality, and be okay with that. And so I feel like that's a huge part of, society now is, a lot of the pressures of, whether it's getting likes or this social media thing, is being comfortable with being who you are and chasing your dreams, and sticking to it, because it's going to be a lot of hard work. And so I think that's a big part of it.
I am so glad I asked. I think we've got 2 chapters in another good book, don't you, Robert?
I think so, yes.
Well, gentlemen, thank you both. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us on air, and thank you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back in a few from the locker room chat.